Call this meeting to order of the HAPO Advisory Board. First thing on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, next thing on the agenda is public comment. Does anyone in the audience or online wish to make any public comment? I'll go ahead and call it out 3 times. So, anyone wish to make public comment? Online or in person? Anyone wish to make public comment? Anyone wish to make public comment? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to selection of new HAPO Advisory Board Chair. I'll go ahead and just provide a comment. So just for the audience, this is the board as of right now. City of Pasco and the county we have some work to do. There should actually be 6 individuals. So I'm not sure if we actually need to choose a chair or just postpone it so we have more members and maybe. I think me and him are the longest serving individuals on the board.
I think that would probably be wise. I was reading, they're not necessarily bylaws, but the interlocal agreement between the city of Pasco and the county. So we can have 6 members. It's a 6-member board, and then the board has the option to actually choose a 7th member. Obviously, we're a long way from that at this point, and there are some stipulations where they can be in the county. So I've been reaching out to a few folks, and I've got some prospects. So I think the recruitment process might take just a little bit of legwork, but I'm pretty confident we can find enough people that are interested. The question really would be who wants to do it, and then there are some nuances to where they're supposed to be from. But those are also board decisions by the Franklin County Commission. So I think the first step is to find people who might be interested in that process, and then, see where we go from there.
Yeah, I know the city, they're going to start doing interviews here soon. Remember, we got an email about boards and commissions, and so we have people who have applied for many boards and commissions with the city. So we'll have my seat filled here soon, and then, like I said, I have no issues being the board chair until we get a full thing, a full board, and then from there we can maybe that first meeting with a full board, just go ahead and have elections and just kind of go from there.
And I think the best process right now, maybe get consensus from the board members that they're still confident in you moving forward as chair, and until we get a full board.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, sounds good.
As am I, especially with right now, that since we don't really have a quorum either.
Right, exactly. So.
Right. Okay, so then we'll go ahead and then we'll just go ahead and just postpone that part, and I'll follow up with Adam on our end. Well, we kind of already talked about the next one, discussion of current board openings, obviously. So if you guys know, anyone in the audience knows of anyone, have them. If they live in Franklin County, apply, contact Mike. If you live in the city of Pasco, contact city clerk or the city. There's applications online. Anyone that you feel like could be good at it. They work at a hotel, they've worked hospitality, they work at a convention center. Those are the type of individuals with that experience that we would like to see on the board. So next thing, we'll just go ahead and move on to HAPO financial update, HWL.
Thank you. Mike, I sent over the financial. I don't know if you're able to put up from there or if I'm able to share it from here.
Honestly, I'm not as familiar. I'm going to defer to Julio, who's our expert on this platform. I'm an expert on Zoom, which I sent out an inadvertent Zoom link, which I got smacked around a little bit for going outside of process. But Julio, is there an easy way to tell them to do it, like from a share capacity, or is it?
Yeah, so there should be a share button at the
I can go ahead and try and share it.
Yeah, there's a share button at the bottom.
I think I had sent it over there, so
It looks like you're headed in the right direction. There we go. Good job.
Julio.
Good job.
Is waiting to be let in.
Yeah, except it's not the one I was looking for.
But it's
How about that? Can you guys see that?
Yep. Yes, sir, we can.
okay.
Perfect. So this is the P and L. What I've done is I put the PL up for October number. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you, Wes.
Okay, I have that little meek, mild voice, so. Anyway, the profit and loss, I'd like to go over with you real quickly. Like I said, it's for October, November. I combined them. I was hoping to have December closed out so we could have the full 3 months. I still had some straggling bills coming in and a couple of receivables that prevented me from doing that. So this is what we've got. As far as, I don't know if you guys want to do line item by line item. It sounds kind of boring, but I'll just kind of brief through here pretty quick on our revenue. Catering revenue at 105, and I'll just hit the major events. Event rooms, of course, is 73,000. That's what actually we charge for events. Taxes, which of course get remitted back to the state. Equipment, social security, for when we provide security for an event, we get paid for that and we remit that back to the county, of course. So concession sales, that's that gentleman in there that sells pizzas and coffees and things. The event deposits in here are the events that were deposited for these current 2 months that were taken and put back in. The arena rentals, pavilion rentals, okay? You see the SVM deposit owed right here at 14,000. Down below here, you see that it was remitted, and that was deposits they took for events that happened in October and November that were remitted, when those events happened. Ticket sales, we charge for parking and tickets. So total revenue was 293,536.69. Is there any questions on the income?
That's for the month of December.
Except everybody's wishing I would just get to the bottom line, right?
That's October, November.
So
I can't see that.
expenses, I'm not gonna bore you guys with all these. The two that you'll want to know about, right here is our fees. This is the fees for Larry and myself. They're separated because, as I said, we're a team. We're two different companies. I get a little bit more than Larry because I'm younger and I have longer to go before I retire.
That's perfect.
Good. Other than that, general expenses and incomes in here, and the for the offset the incomes up above. So total expenses going down. I'm just going to hit the bottom line. Unless anybody has something in here they want to particularly see or have questions about. Insurances, risk pool premium. We're with the Washington counties to buy the insurance through and pay. Utilities were $36,090. Down below here, you can see total expenses at 241. We have some business license expenditures in here. That was actually for our startup and getting licensing for the alcohol and such things as that. So total net income down at the bottom line is 37,802 to the positive for those 2 months. Do I have any questions or anything that somebody would like more detail on?
The only question I had was, so we're considering the naming rights as income, money as revenue?
So, yeah, so the naming rights, of course, is income that we receive from the HAPO credit union. And what they do is approximately, it was I believe, $1 million contract over 10 years, $100,000. And the way it is put through is we go ahead and amortize it at so much a month to equal that during the year. Even though it is paid in one lump sum, we just go ahead and put it in by the month. Obviously, because, only half of it was in the first half and half in the second half. The $1 million was paid, I believe, in March.
Anyone else have any questions? I actually like the presentation. Looks a lot more cleaner than what we've seen in the past couple of months and past meetings. So I appreciate it looking more well kind of delineated, and it's easier to kind of understand. So I appreciate that.
I just I can't really.
Yeah, one thing I say is the catering events did really good, so everybody thanks Shirley, and generated good income for the county. And that is the state of affairs. Now, the accounting is switching over from what we see here today. It's going, so the county from now on, all bills will be paid through the county. We will manage the account. So we remit all receivables and we remit all bills through the county's accounting system now, instead of doing it on our QuickBooks. So we'll be closing this out at the end of December. And there will be a substantial amount of money going into the county as far as positive income earned. And then, so our next event, hopefully we'll be able to show you what the new accounting system will look like.
All here, no questions. We'll go ahead and move on to HAPO GM report. Joel Morgan.
I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. A couple of our upcoming events. We've got the Sportsman Show this weekend. We've got Calvary Chapel, the Father Daughter Dance coming up. We got HBA, the Home and Garden Show. We have the Custer Spring Show, the City of Pasco Employee Dinner. We have a Garland Gymnastics Competition, Benton Franklin Recovery, Pacific Northwest Christian College Fundraiser, the Tag Con, which is Tri-City Gaming, a Vintage Clothing Expo, a Men's Expo, the HAPO Credit Union Gala, and we have a cheer competition, Southeast Aging Meeting, Franklin County Sheriff's Dinner, Kemper Northwest Seminar, Washington Trucking Championship Breakfast, and Franklin County Retreat. Some of the improvements since our last meeting, we were able to fix the exterior HAPO signs that were not working. Working with McKinstry on a couple different projects. One is to fix the exterior lighting. We hope to have that final quote in the next couple weeks. We've began work on our restrooms and bathrooms. If all parts come in, we hope to have those fixed by this Thursday. We have received one bid on fixing our exterior doors, and we hope to have a second bid in the next week. And we replace all the ceiling tiles in the atrium, Snake River, Columbia River room, the offices, and the boardroom. We were able to fix a broken pipe we had on a boiler in the ice pavilion, fix the electrical outlets and the planters in the front of HAPO, and also fixed a drain that also was in front of the HAPO entrances that we had a clog between the drain itself and the dry well, and then the two dry wells themselves also had one. And also a broken window we fixed in the arena press box. Couple things upcoming. On first week of February, we'll be submitting an RFP for auction companies to sell the items outside the northeast corner of the arena. This includes the animal stalls and other equipment, and also in the process of creating an RFP for new HVAC in the arena, Columbia, and Snake River rooms, the boardroom, and the HAPO offices. We received our temporary liquor license, and we are also in the process of updating our website. And I'm not sure, Wes, if we had that link to show.
Give us just a minute here if you would.
Yeah, I think I can go ahead and bring that up. You can try our share again, see if we get lucky twice. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that or not.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we can.
Perfect. Perfect. You know, I'm just getting lucky all over the place here. So, yes, we've been setting up a new website, and this is kind of a view of what it's looking like and how it's coming along. We thought the old website was getting a little clunky and could, use a refresher. The team down there has been getting all sorts of pictures, real professional pictures, I might add. So this is kind of what the website's going to look like. It'll have a help center so we can let's talk right, what's going on at the HAPO Center. A lot of beautiful pictures there, as you can see. And gives us a lot more interaction as far as people being able to see what events are coming up and being able to go ahead and go online and buy concert tickets and buy tickets to trade shows and to interact with us on there as far as the events they have coming up, and even looking to see the layouts that we have in the arena, the spaces, the expo halls, and a lot of information on each and every one of them. The trade shows will be highlighted. And this is a little clunky, so there's a little time delay here. So let me know when you guys can see these.
Yep.
I'm going to turn off this little help window for a second. So set up fashion, apparel trade show, Pasco Wash. So it'll be events like these that'll be set up in here. Room for any events. We kind of list out the events that we can have, kind of giving people ideas of what we sponsor, things that we've had in the past, and of course a one click to get hold of us and to set up their events. Business meetings. So each one of these interactive, you guys can go on the website. I won't bore you by going all the way through them, except saying it's very interactive and gives people a lot of ideas of what we can do, how we can accommodate them, and quickly get them to, we're trying to cut down the amount of time it takes us actually from the time somebody has and shows an interest to where they can get on here and actually look at the seating and the arrangements and what we have, and quickly going to see things they might want to go see, business events, concerts, banquets that will be going on. We'll get them all posted up there so people can follow along and actually be able to connect with us, and it'll send them new events as they come out. Purchasing tickets. And events, being able to look up, find events at our facilities, other facilities, right? So actually we want to be a place where people go to search for events and hopefully go to our event first. And like I said, I apologize for being kind of clunky here from 2 internets away. Is there any questions anybody has on this or would like to see?
I have a question. When is this supposed to go live?
That's a good question. We're actually working on it, like I said, right now as we speak, and I'm kind of hoping to see this launch. The greatest hope is maybe by the end of the month, if not, no later than mid-February.
I think the website looks good. I'm not gonna lie. Pretty impressed with what the content and yeah, I think that's great. You have little tabs to go to different places, and it kind of explains things. That's awesome. I do got just a few questions just about the center itself. So I sent Joel, Mike, and Larry. Sorry, Wes, I didn't shoot you that email. It was just brought to my attention. There were some dates that were asked of Harris White Leisure, and you guys couldn't accommodate them. So I thought maybe you could shed some light on that email I sent as to why we couldn't do 2 events at the same
Yeah,
time.
I think Larry is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let Larry take that. I think he's in on that information. Larry?
Yeah, Leo, a couple of things, and when I get to my part of the program, we'll expand upon it a little bit as well. And I share that because what we're attempting to do, we've been in place for 90 days, pushing it up into the 120 days. So there are a couple of areas when we took over, which you're personally well aware of, that we've got a couple of leases that need to be fixed. And I say fixed meaning it's not good for the county nor good for the tenant. Based upon these leases were done some time ago, and I've taken those on personally, not Joel is not involved. But we have to sit down and try to analyze and visualize what can happen here. And this is one of the areas of great interest and definitely great concern. And there's been a substantial amount of time on both sides relative to the arena. So once again, what I'm hopeful, Leo, is that by our next meetings in a couple of weeks is that we'll have some recommendations to come not only to the commission, but we have an obligation certainly to them first, as well as wanting to talk with you, the advisory board, as to the two leases that are there before us. One is obviously the arena, and the second one is obviously the ice facility. There was some discussion, as you know, that we had at our last meeting. So rather than repeat everything twice, I'll hold that for my discussion. But there have been a number of discussions. The tenant here, as you know, that's been talking with the arena. He's also been talking with some other folks about subleasing or assigning his right to bring in some other uses versus the uses that are part of his lease. We want to work with him, definitely. We have a lease, as you know, until the end of the year with them, and obviously it's confidential, and from the standpoint that I feel we're negotiating in good faith, meaning both sides, to try to come up with something that works for both parties. Today it doesn't. It's been going on for quite some time. I've obviously had the opportunity to hear both sides for quite a while since we took over, but it's definitely an issue. Those of you in and on the commission, meaning on the committee, to take forward here. All of this is certainly open information. I'd look forward to talking with all of you at our next meeting, which we'll have in a session in a couple of weeks to discuss these two areas of interest. And as I say, one happens to be the ice facility and the present tenant that is there and what's going on there. We've been working very, very hard together to come up with some solutions. And I frankly feel, and Leo, you were in one of our last meetings with the tenant. I'm totally committed not only to live up with the lease, but I think it needs to be altered for the rest of this term. And I'm open. Remember, our role is strictly to recommend, which I plan to do, and that I'm definitely open for discussion with this committee to present to Mike and the board. I've not done that. And I plan to do it, and I look forward to it the next 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that we can deal with it. There's been lots of lists. There have been lots of comments. There have been lots of things in writing coming from not only the tenant, but another party that would like to be involved. My involvement is strictly with the tenant, and I feel I need to do that. That's who the agreement is with. So there's been some miscommunication. There have been a number of things, but not because I can't help what happened in the past. I just can't. And we've stayed out of it, all of that. But we can in the future, and we are representing the county and the HAPO Center, and realizing I know what that means too. I mean, Pasco, the city of Pasco, has definitely invested substantial amount of money in it as well, and it's something that I'm well aware of. But at the present time, we're having confidential discussions with the tenant, which I believe it is and is right. But certainly any information relative to the lease, relative to what we're trying to do, I would encourage any of you that would like to take that further to visit with us. We are definitely interested in activity in both bases, not just the one side of the facility. We're interested in being sure that the gentleman that is in that lease, that financially it can make sense for him as well as the center. And I see that as definitely a positive moving forward.
Okay. Well, I know I appreciate those comments. I guess I was looking specifically, so I sent you the email and there's these dates. And so like, for instance, at the top, it says February 10th, 24 hours before HBA move in, no. And then below that, March 16th, middle of Custer's show, March 30th, Jurassic Quest, tentatively. So I guess what I'm getting at is I was just looking kind of what's the reason as to why not let him use that arena for any of these events that could bring in more revenue, rental space and provide economic development, and perhaps people come in for the night to use hotels. That's kind of the reason why I gave you that email, because I kind of wanted an explanation as to why you didn't get back to, I guess, Jeff in this case, so that he could have some of these events on his side. Is it a subleasing issue? Is it an insurance issue on his part? What was the issue, I guess?
Well, first of all, I don't know what I saw today. That's not my writing, nor I don't know where that directly was that presented to him and presented to you? Is that where that comes from? Because we've had Leo, we've had numerous discussions about certain dates, a number of dates, indicating that we're moving too slowly on our side. We're trying to evaluate what is here and what is going to make sense. And
sorry,
I'd be happy.
I don't want to cut you off, Larry, but are you saying that you didn't see my email that I sent to you yesterday?
Oh, no. Oh, no, I saw your email.
Okay.
I didn't have a copy of what you had, so I don't know where you received that. Did that come from the tenant?
This came from Jeff. He sent it to myself and Melissa, and then I saw it, and then that's when I forwarded to you, Joel and Mike. And so I just wanted to look for some type of reasoning.
Let me jump in here real quick, Larry, if you don't mind.
Well,
Larry, let me jump in real quick. So I received that email as well, and I'll just put my county administrator hat on. The email didn't have a ton of context. It had dates, and I reached out to you, and I said, I'm assuming these have to do with David Cortinez's concerts and a few other things. And looking at Jeff's lease, I think we have to look at the intent of what he was originally intended to do in there. Nowhere in his contract does it say he can do concerts, nor was that the intent. With my economic development hat, I am supportive of other activities going on in there, but you mentioned subleasing. That's not necessarily, something that he's able to do. Put on concerts, it doesn't stipulate that. It puts us at risk. And the intent of him going into that side was for him to be a sports complex. It wasn't to be a concert promoter. And, the fact that we hired HWL to do those things and to bring an outside vendor, for me, that raises some eyebrows in the sense of risk and things of that. And what is the intent and your mission, your original mission, and then we have to bring it to contract. Like what are the abilities? Is the HAPO Center capable of doing that? Absolutely. Is Jeff Carbo capable of putting on a concert? I don't know. a third party putting on a concert with a leasee, that's problematic. So, you look at these issues, and I haven't gone through each particular date, but you have to look at it from our perspective. It's not just, it's a hard no because it's Cortines. It's a hard no because of this. It's a hard no because I think that narrative's been spun, and it's false. It's disingenuous. It's not fair to the county. So, those kind of things. And I'm not being critical of you because
No, I'm not taking the-
I want the best for the city. I want the best for the county, but it's way more complex than
Right.
we just wouldn't let them do it.
Yeah.
Well,
So I want the public to know that.
the question is what is he proposing for those dates? Because nowhere in the email.
Right. There's no
It's
context.
Like, are you wanting to have a sports-related event on what specific day? Because it's what's being proposed on the other side, but what I'm not seeing is what events does he want to hold, and can they go in conjunction with
Right.
each other? That's why I'm like,
Right, and in your hotel experience, I mean, you can't necessarily have events that may not align. You can't have a big quinceañera and then,
Well-
something else going on.
no, I did work at the convention center, and at one time, I remember there's got to be like 6 or 7 rooms that you can have breakout rooms, and could be different types of events, and we made it work. Like at one time there was every single room, something was going on, and none of them were related. So I know it can be done, but again, whoever made those decisions probably looked at the big picture and looked how it affected
Right.
each individual group. But you have to have all the information. They're not giving
Yeah, there wasn't much context
all
to
the
that.
information. So if they're rejecting it, is the other party submitting just the dates? I want to have this event, yes or no? Or are they saying, I want to have a baseball tournament, or a basketball tournament, or whatever the case may be? There's no specific.
Right, and that's where I
information.
defer to Harris White Leisure, and I think at minimum one of the events there was some bathroom issues. So that, and my point is things can be done, but I don't know in terms of some of those details, but I just want to let the community know that we're not telling Jeff no just for the sake of no. It's more complex than that, and and again, I go back to the original intent of his mission. He never, when we signed this contract with him, and it predates me, there was never any iota of him doing additional events as a concert promoter or any other thing. So I think that from our perspective is an issue when you flex or you pivot and you say, I want to make I want to do concerts, and now you county are costing me money. Wait, you never said you were a concert promoter when you signed this contract, and I love Jeff's mission. I'm an old sports guy. I love sports, and I think we align on the visions, and but I question his ability to promote concerts, and if we can do it, let's figure out a way to do it, because it'll put heads in beds and it'll create economic development. But I also think we got to give Harris White Leisure a chance to get their footing, so we can alter the contract and do some things. Because I want to work with Jeff, probably more than anybody. So anyhow,
I'm just asking because, like I said, this was presented to us, and yeah, there wasn't a lot of context, but I was just thinking, like, I guess I got some questions for Jeff now too. Because he had an event last week, so do all the events need to get cleared? Because he had a 2-day tournament in his facility, where he's leasing, and so did that get cleared by you guys, or did he just do that
No.
on his own accord?
No, I think, Leo, and what I think would be helpful, because, and Mike, I appreciate your comments, but here's here's reality of it. The lease, you will find, and you on a confidential basis should, as our advisory board, I am sure none of us have any. I'd love to go through the points of the lease, not today on this phone call public, but I'd certainly invite all of you to join us in 2 weeks, and we'll go through that. But here's what's going on. I've been trying for the 90 days to try to come through and come up with something that would improve this lease through the end of next year. And I do believe I've had the tenant working with us in trying to make that work. The whole issue in the sheet that you got was not a formal release with handwritten signatures. We don't do that. We've been asked a number of times for, was this date available? Was that date available? And knowing that and I was told, I haven't been involved in that list. I could tell you, but it's my responsibility. I ask that we look at those dates and see if we have any open that could have been for his concert. It's not for a ball game. It's not for anything else. That all came at the request of the gentleman that was mentioned earlier. I've met with the gentleman. So it's real quick. Hey, how about these dates? We might be able to make something work here, here, and here. We did. There was the opportunity for a baseball dinner and so forth, which we approved. And the point being here is that we need to sit down, and which we've been talking about, and altering that lease. We do not want to go through 11 more months of a lease that makes no sense for either player. The county, it's not that county loses money, they do, no matter what happens. But that's only one very small part of it. The truth is, he does not have the rights to do anything other than what he signed his lease for. And I'm sure you honor that. We'll honor it. But I want to change it. I'm requesting that we change it, but I've got to have his support of that. Otherwise, it makes no sense. So that's what's going on now. I am hopeful in 2 weeks, and I would encourage any one of you on the advisory board. I'm not inviting the public. We're having a separate negotiation to try and make this work. The same with the ice. And since I'm talking about it, let's be very clear. We are going to be recommending to the county commissioners what to do to move forward with the ice. There was some of that discussion last week that I promise not to repeat again today when it's my turn to speak. But what I'm sharing is that needs to happen. They're on month-to-month lease. You've got 300 young children that are using that facility. It's needed. It needs money to be invested in it. The parents have been doing it to date, and they can't manage an ice facility. That's not what they do. So we're recommending that change and that we work with them. I've been working with them, and they've been very forthright in wanting to see that happen, so that can happen. Those are the two challenges I would share with you that I think I saw when we first came in and said that we would, in addition to us looking at the 40,000 foot level that I'll chat with momentarily, but we needed to address these two issues right up front. And that's what I'm attempting to do. Maybe I haven't done a very good job, Leo, in that and communication, but I've definitely attempted to, and I'll continue to do that with the tenant, and only the tenant, because he's the one that has the deal. And I think it would be helpful if any of you would like to see the lease and the breakdown of it. Wes has done a great job of laying that out. We'd share it with you in confidence with Jeff's approval. And I know public, I know you can always get the information. That's not what it's all about. We're trying to work with him, and he does not have to tell us about his events. But don't you think it would be good information that be shared with both parties, because we're here really in one building? And I don't want to go through all the problems. We definitely can do more than 1 or 2 or 3 events in that facility. We definitely can do that. But certain events, if you have 2 big giant, let's say that events, substantial ones with hundreds and hundreds of people in both facilities, you need to be able to keep those separate. The one big problem we have with your facility, which we're going to recommend and we're going to change, are the bathrooms, and moving in and out of the atrium. Whoever leases that, it's a problem. It's an area of security. It's an area of facility. We think we have a solution for that, so that 2 large groups could, in fact, be in the same facility. But it's not that easy. We've got some meeting rooms. We have certain groups, and if you would talk with, and I had noticed that Shirley's on the line, Simmons, and talking about having a number of events in the facility at the same time, she will tell you, yes, we can, but there needs to be certain requirements put in place so that can happen. That's what we want to do, and that's what we want to move forward with here. I'm happy to answer any specific questions, but first of all, in the context of that one memo that I have no idea from where that came and how it got to you, but I'd certainly like to address it, and we can address it if we bring it into context of what we're all talking about. I've had numerous dates suggested. We've tried to look at all of them to see what could work. It's not because it's in the contract that he can't. I'm talking with him about ways that he can do that, and work within the system and work within the food service and all the rest of it to do it properly, which hasn't come about.
I appreciate that. We'll go ahead and we'll get off this dead horse. I think we'll just do it offline. This was what was presented to us, and so I think I remember emailing you a while ago, Joel, just what's the process here when someone wants to put on an event. We kind of went through that, if you remember that, a couple months ago, like right when you got on, if you remember. And so that's we just want to make sure. And so this is to the public. We want to be able to field questions from the public, whether it's a future tenant that's leasing something, people don't have a good experience at the HAPO Center, whatever it is, and then we can come in here and talk about it. And I'm not afraid to have those tough conversations, and I think we shouldn't, because we want to have people to utilize this facility and just have that good experience so that they always come back. So that's really more or less what I was going with that memo, I guess. But like I said, I know it sounded like it was given to him a while ago, and again, there was just no follow-up. And so it sounds like you guys and Jeff really need to get together as to what he can do with his lease, and that's fine.
Yeah, and
do we need more of that? I don't know per se, but it would just be our advice as advisory board.
Yeah,
let's treat our tenants good and back and forth. Him should treat you guys
absolutely.
good,
And you and I have had the conversation with Jeff, and Jeff at times can be difficult. I'll put that on the record, and I'm not afraid to call him out, because I have that type of relationship with Jeff. Well, I'll say, hey, you're being a little difficult, and he will acknowledge that. So we're working through that, and but not to harp on this issue, because it has been an issue. But there, as I was going back through my notes preparing for this, and looking back at some of the conversations, in terms of the contract, because really, that's what ultimately is what the contract is. What the contract is. We had assignment clause issues, outside alcohol. Some of the events, they wanted to control the alcohol, which wasn't necessarily permitted.
That's a liability in itself.
Yeah, so as you know, Melissa, Councilwoman, it's those are like, it makes us nervous as an entity, use of atrium within the contract. There was parking issues. So, the contract stipulated certain things. So, and I think it was perceived as we were being difficult or didn't want to work with him. And then, quite frankly, it went off the rails. And I've been talking with Jeff since my time as economic development manager at Pasco. So it's, I've known Jeff for quite a while. And, the issues have sort of continued. And, and this is where myself and Leo, we've tried to intervene and work with Jeff and be the conduit. And I'll say there's times he hasn't come to the table when Joel has offered, and Larry's been more than gracious. And so, I'm not afraid to go there and say, look, Jeff, let's work together because we want to be a team. And I think we've been accessible, and, there's times we've exchanged harsh emails, but we're still friends. And, so I think we just have to get to that next phase to where, and I think Larry's open to it. Let's look at the contract and see if there's a way we can work together in the future. Because I think ultimately we want this center to be whatever the vision it is that we want it to be. And I do think we have to have a collective vision before we say, look, we want it to be this amazing sports center. And I know that's you've been pretty. I mean, you've been on the record. That's what you want.
On the record.
No, and I know, and I appreciate. Look, I appreciate that about you, Leo. Is you wear your emotion, you wear it on your shirt sleeve. You ain't hiding it. So, look, I respect that. But I've also learned there's a process because when I first got in government, I always wanted to kind of go outside my lane, and I'm not saying you did that in this case, but I would take things on my own shoulder and say this is the driving force, and the perception in the community is like, there's Gonzalez speaking on behalf of the agency again. But, and we've had robust conversations like you're one of 7 council people. So,
It's true.
And, I want the county to be on the same page with the city because there's times when we haven't been and we haven't talked. So I feel like we're thawing out our relationship, and, we want to all be friends and work this. And I do think it's a tremendous opportunity for us all to be on the same page. And, if the council shares your vision, I want it to be a consensus. I don't want it to be Leo pushing the envelope and then we all kind of, maybe that's the direction that we go in, but I do think we need to temper some of that. How does Jeff fit into that equation? What's the overall grand scheme? And because what I do appreciate about my time at Pasco is we did a tremendous job of planning. I mean, I don't think there's a city that does a better job of laying out vision, whether it's transportation, economic development, the Broadmoor plan. I mean, it was, and I think I want to stay within lockstep before anybody gets ahead of it, because I've been known for going outside of process, and as county administrator, I've learned you don't do that, and because I've learned from my mistakes. So I don't want you to make that mistake leading the charge on something that not everybody's a collective vision. But if it is, because it's a great idea, let's all work on it together. So I'm going to get off my pontification. But
I want to make one comment that I remember back, I want to say 2000, but prior to 2015, when Troy Woody was working for the track. At one time, or numerous times, I remember there was 2 different events going on. One was in the arena, one was not. They were both going on at the same time, and they had ticket booths and they had bracelets. So someone was manning the doors, and then the bathrooms were utilized by both at the same time. So I know it's been done within back then, but we don't have near as many people in Franklin County as we do now. But I know that it has been done in the past.
Right.
And I remember them manning the door on both sides, and if you didn't have the correct color of band, you weren't going through those doors. And I want to say even Jurassic Quest also did that, because they had one section in the arena that was separate from the other section, and you had to pay extra to be able to go into the arena. And again, they had ticket people to just watch to make sure that those colored bands were not going through. Almost like what the fairgrounds use for carnival passes. So
Yeah,
just to throw that out.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. We do that all the time. We're involved in multiple opportunities, so there's no question that it definitely can be done. We do need to, as I said earlier, if you have two giant facilities going or events going on, we've got to deal with the restrooms. So that, I don't want to waste people's time here, but it's a major issue. You can't tie those together when you have two opposite events going on at the same time. Obviously, they end up in the wrong space. We have common restrooms. So we've got to make those changes. Be happy to talk with you about all of them because I do not want to indicate that we can't do numerous events on this facility. We've got it. We've got parking, all of those things. So, but once again, I'm sorry I'm not there. We were there for 3 days last week, and I just couldn't make this to get back to you this evening. So I apologize for that. In the future, I'll be at those meetings face to face, but we couldn't do so. So I will keep all of you apprised. Look forward to working with you. Any other ideas? And when I get through with my 40,000 foot discussion, which I will keep to the short time, then be happy to talk later about any items that you'd like to chat about. Love your input.
Thank you. Just two more items. It's about the facility itself. I think I had an email about the heaters. I was there this weekend. My son was playing the tournament. It was really cold in there. I think Mike said we're working on it. Any update in regards to the heaters? Are they working again or?
We had one that was fixed on Friday, and we're also evaluating the rest of them.
Okay. Timeline? No timeline? Get in bids or?
I don't have a timeline right this minute.
Is that going to affect sportsmen this weekend then?
Based on the weather, I don't think so.
And the other thing I noticed, I don't know if there was a leak, but I did see flooding in there when I stopped by. And another thing we got to talk about, I guess now that I'm on the topic, it was raining the other day and I walked in and where Jeff's entrance is, I mean, it's just coming down. Like, obviously because there's no gutter. Are we looking into perhaps getting a gutter system right there?
Like
at
coming
all?
Coming down
Oh yeah,
inside
like
the
you were
arena?
getting soaked. Yeah, when it was raining hard, you were getting soaked trying to walk in. And then I think that contributed to the flooding because I saw flooding kind of moving in towards the vending machines. So it seemed like just a facility thing. So I was just kind of want to ask about that. Are you aware of that?
I am aware of that.
Issue, and so I guess obviously you need to slope it away, but is there anything on the docket in regards to like a gutter system? Because I kind of feel like that could be like a liability issue, especially if it frosts, over and stuff.
We're taking all that over as we begin trying to look at a number of ways to bring that whole arena current. None of the entries into the main building obviously are the problem. It's on that entry that he has on that other side. We have been made aware of that, and that's on the list. In our RFP that we'll be talking about taking care of that, taking care of the heating, the HVAC we know needs to be handled. But we're going out for a major RFP. We're not planning to go with the existing group specifically without going out to the public. But any other thoughts you have, and I've talked with Jeff about a couple of those that definitely need some support. That's one of them, and you're right on. Supposedly all the leaks in the roof have been taken care of. All of that was done by McKinstry, and I think Jeff feels that's now been done. And we've obviously taken care of that earlier situation, a leak a year ago or whatever that affected one of his floors. We've taken care of all of that.
What entrance do they use? Do they use the back, like park by the Holiday Inn Express and walk through the back of the facility, or do they use the very front?
It's the other side.
No, they're definitely on the other side. Yeah, the north.
Okay.
there's a separate entry there for the arena, and that's where they enter.
Where the horse stalls are?
Correct.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense why it would be raining and it's right there. Because that's where the roll-up doors are, right?
Yeah, roll up doors right now.
Okay.
There's one there, yes.
That
Yes.
makes sense.
Those are all the comments that I had in regards to the jammer part. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
No
or
problem.
anything, so. Other than that, do you have anything to add to your GM report?
I do not.
Okay, appreciate it. Any more questions from the board?
I do not have any.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on to HWL Vision Project Presentation.
And Larry, we switched to a different platform, so I want to let you know, we don't have the pictures, so I want to let the public know that you can go to our previous Franklin County Commission Board meeting, and Larry's full presentation is there. And I'll email the board with the link, and I'll get the time code so you guys can watch it. But if you can give us the Cliff Notes version, Larry, and if anybody in the public, when this gets posted, I'll certainly send it to you. But it is on Franklin County Commission, our YouTube site. And go ahead. Thank you.
Very good, and I will be brief, and as I say, the rest of the presentation we'll shoot that to you as well. We've got that together. What happened in the beginning when we looked at the project and the possibility of submitting an RFP, which is a little bit unusual for us as such. We obviously had a great deal of interest at looking at the project, looking at the real estate. That's what we do. I've developed obviously in the Tri-Cities 25 years ago. I've done a number of projects in the area, but I indicated that at no cost to the county, and it may be worth nothing but a third party's view, but that I wanted 90 to 120 days to give an overview as we start forward in our project and identifying what I thought were the issues that needed to be handled directly, but more importantly, to take a look at the asset that the county has. And by county, I've said it earlier, and I don't mean to only include the county. Believe me, I well understand. I've now gone back. First of all, we went in and identified what land was actually owned by the county, what land was actually owned by the city, what was owned by all the private sector in and around the property. That information I have there and is presented in my presentation. But the bottom line of that is, and was, that there's a lot of synergy and so forth here. But I'm also well aware, as you were, and I wasn't initially, that there's some timeframes coming up to look at all of this. But basically, what I shared is that there's substantial land, real estate, that I would consider as excess real estate that needs to be planned, discussed as to what could be done with that. Most of it's in sagebrush, so you know what I'm talking about. Adjacent to some private land. I think there's land on the existing HAPO center that can be utilized to lease to third parties, to lease to others, restaurants, other hotels, that would enhance and be a positive. I've talked with majority of the landowners. The other thing that I did, because of my past knowledge, I have talked with many individuals in the last 90 days. I've talked with the ports. I've talked with the other cities as to what resources they have. I'm not talking money. I'm talking, you obviously have a Toyota center. You have a single sheet of ice. You have other activities in your convention center there. And so we have looked at all of that as I came back to say, what could we do with the opportunity? So the county, as you know, they sold off land to the Holiday Inn Express. He did a great job in coordinating that with the facility. He's put meeting rooms in that space. He has room for expansion. I've had discussions with him. I've had discussions with the health club that is there with Quest and what they're planning and what they're thinking in the future. And at the same time had some ongoing dialogue with what land is there, which is now presently owned by the county and other uses for it. So with that, what I have said after all of this, and I think the other issue I have suggested is that I think there is a need to expand upon the sheet of ice that is owned by the HAPO Center that's tall. It's called the Pavilion, but it needs some immediate care, as does the arena relative to HVAC and so forth. So I'm recommending those two, that we move forward with RFPs and get those under control. That is my major element for more immediate action. But the truth is, I have recommended to the county commissioners in their public hearing last week, my recommendation is that the county immediately move forward in leadership to master plan and working with Pasco and working with the other private landowners that are there in developing a master plan of all of these properties right now and getting everyone involved in that process. It's sports, it's education, it's entertainment and events. That's what we are. That's what we do. That's what brings in economic development. All of those work together. And sports activities, definitely entertainment activities, bring people from outside the area, as do all these events that we're talking about. So we're a mixed-use facility, and bringing all that together in cooperation with what's going on with the city. Obviously, the city's sitting here with a professional baseball stadium that I wish Boise had, and all the other youth sports that are there and fitting within that project. Now's the time to take a look. There's fences between properties, there's fences between parking, all of those, not intentionally, that's not the issue. But from a landowner standpoint, I think right now, I have recommended to the commission, we'll see what comes about there in our formal request, but in our written report, which will be forthcoming. But that's what we're proposing, and it appears that they and Mike, the administrator, that really needs to go forward as we've looked at the assets of the facility and the county, and in cooperation and alongside the city in making that happen. Not for a year study. I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting 90 days because we've collected a lot of information. And I think that it makes sense that we seriously sit down, roll up our sleeves and sit down and see how all this can fit together. That I've proposed, and I'd be happy to talk about anything there. I'd prefer that you take a look at the project when you have time. But I did want you to know we had that meeting with the county commissioners last week, and I'm putting a formal request to them in the next couple of weeks as well to move forward. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions? I have a couple. So, okay. Larry, I want to ask you, and I'm sorry, you probably don't have your contract sitting in front of you, but I have a copy, and so I was waiting for this meeting because I figured by now we would have a master plan. And so in your contract, it talks about November 1st, the contractor shall submit a draft master plan. I reviewed your presentation, but, and I have notes, but I guess your presentation didn't really go over key aspects of a master plan. It didn't talk about clearly defined goals and how you would measure those objectives and stuff like that. So I guess, so is this just kind of like a rough draft for a master plan right now, or were we not expecting an actual like document, Mike, of some sort to kind of review and, as opposed to just a
No,
verbal?
no. Well, two things, Mr. Chairman. First of all, we were going to present the plan in December. It was October, November, and December. We came to do exactly that. We were asked in a meeting, which included Pasco, that I pushed that out into January as to one person's view of the overview. When you say master plan, what we were attempting to do, it's more than just the real estate. It's uses, it's other things that pertain to the management and what is happening on the real estate. We were asked to push that into this year, which I agreed to do in a meeting and the reasoning was presented to us that there would be new city council members and there would be a new county commissioner, and didn't it make sense that be presented to them instead of the past? We agreed to do that. That's the reason that we went there on the 15th to present it. There's a lot more to it than that, and I can assure you. And obviously a few hundred hours put in place, but I did not want to go through that at that meeting. We're planning another meeting in 2 weeks where other issues were to be discussed. But first, I wanted to see if the commissioners felt that it was important enough to take a look at the plan. You'll see on that plan where I proposed that other development happen and potential uses. There's a lot there that would be relative to new hotels, relative to other activity. But the truth is, after you look at it and you look at all this together, and it doesn't seem, to date, there's been no plan to talk about that or to deal with that with the large properties that are sitting there right now, which basically are the private properties and what they're doing, and also the county and the city of Pasco. So I think that needs to happen, in my view. Otherwise, I don't see that today. I found nothing that would relate to that. There was an audit study made in 2015, and that related to HAPO. HAPO is sitting there right in the middle of all of this, and at the present time, both of the municipalities have put a tremendous amount of money in that. And doesn't it make sense to take a look at master planning that on the big picture? And you can't do a master plan, Mr. Chairman, without having all parties involved in a design charrette and talking about what your long-range plans are. You don't do that in 60 days in a start. But I think there are lots of people out there that would love to be included, would love to be involved in making it happen. You don't need duplication of all these efforts. You don't need that. But hopefully you've taken a look at all of what is there and taking advantage of that. So that's what's needed, in my view, and taking it to the next step.
Anyone have any questions or comment? I don't want to be the only person talking, but I will.
No, I
Go ahead, Mike.
And kind of reading between the lines, putting my journalist hat on, I'm sensing you're kind of asking Larry if he misrepresented perhaps what he was going to deliver, and did he miss on that delivery? And I'm glad that Larry kind of alluded to, our conversations with Pasco, and you have to realize we've got a contract that's expiring in April. It's a team sport, the economic development element. So my expectation from Larry was this was really a draft master plan, essentially keeping in mind that we have a new council that's coming on board, we have a new commissioner, we have a political environment that's going to change, and interlocal agreements that need to be worked out, and conversations that we're having with Pasco, while all this is going on. So Larry did a tremendous amount of work, and actually so did I, and our auditor's office, finding parcel information, contracts that we had to pull the dust off. And so I think it's more complex, and, he's going to deliver a master plan, because we can't deliver a master plan if Pasco isn't on board, because we're partners in the process, So what, really he was identifying opportunities. So I think he delivered on his promise. So I just want to put that on the record as it really, I know I've recognized this has to be a collaborative effort. And, until Pasco is fully on board with what the game plan is, and that was my perspective on it. And I think everybody that came to the table, so.
And that's a good point. I guess that's what I'm getting at. I mean, I don't want to have those discussions today about where city council members of the city stands, but that's what I'm trying to differentiate that as a councilman on this board. But I wanted to see what the roadmap was, and to know if personally I want to be a part, see this through. Because obviously I do want to see it as a sports complex,
Right.
But I would love to hear and see what they were going to bring to the table. Like, that's the reason why they were chosen. Like, what are you bringing that's going to just blow the socks off this place? We're making money every month. That's what I kind of thought. And that's fine if it got pushed off. That was unbeknownst to me. But when I saw saw HWL give their presentation, I'm like, oh, okay. But, I guess I wanted kind of what was defined in the contract that talked about infrastructure and utilities, little elements, economic development, public spaces and recreation, budget. That's what I wanted to see. You've worked on master plans, so
Yeah.
that's what I thought we were going to be getting, so that we can kind of know where HWL is going with the facility and what they see as the vision and the mission, and that's what the whole point of going out and doing an RFP and bringing an entity in. That was the whole point. So a lot of us were excited to see them, get off and let's see it. But like I said, I'm not trying to be critical all the way. I thought maybe perhaps.
No, and
we were gonna get more.
and it's understandable. And I think you have to look at this part of what Larry brought to the table as really a phase one, because the phase two is continued conversation with Pasco. The phase three is, more than likely extending the interlocal agreement so we could work out a future contract, come to the table of, what parties want to do. The master plan has to be a cohesive process, because I'm fully on board with having Pasco involved in the process, because we can't master plan at the county and go, hey, you know what, we're going to do our master plan. And, maybe you guys can have a little input. No, I want Pasco at the table, and I think Adam, reflects my sentiment, because we've had some brief conversations. Like, it's got to be a team sport, and we've got to come to the table, and the council has to be on board, and we've got to have a collective vision. So I really looked at this as really phase one, because there's no way that a vendor can deliver a full master plan in 90 days. I've worked at Pasco a couple of years. It took, the downtown master plan took more than a year, and we're still going through code revisions on the recommendations. So it's a process, and that's something I've realized being in the government space, coming from journalism. I wanted everything to happen like that, and I can attest to, Adam corrected me many times when I was getting out of my lane, because I wanted to go too fast, and it's like, hey, it's relax. So I've learned to be much more patient as I've gotten more leadership experience. because I always wanted it to happen right now. But it has to be a collective effort. And I know in this case, there's so much economic development potential at the HAPO Center. It's not like Larry can say, I'm going to wave this magic wand and bam, I'm bringing events to the HAPO Center. We got a parking lot that's got holes in it. We have one side of the arena that has no air conditioning. We just got the roof tiles that look like they were 100 years old. So I mean, it's going to be a process, and it's a team sport. It's a collective effort, but I think the county and the city have to come together for this process. So this is really phase one. I know that was a long way of answering the question, but
So I want to take off my city council hat and my board hat and comment as a hotelier. So I think Hector has that magic wand somewhere in the back of his pocket, but the relationship with Visit Tri-Cities, I truly, truly appreciate, because running a hotel the last almost 10 years in this area, I have had to build that relationship over the last 10 years, actually longer than that, because I was at a different hotel prior to that. And I've seen our area grow living in Pasco for the last 45 years. So especially the 68 area. I think whenever there's new management, no matter who takes over, you always want to see, are they going to do things differently? Or are they going to do the same old thing, book the same business? Or are they going after new business? Or are they going to get creative? Or what are they going to bring to the table? That's because we have 3 hotels directly around the HAPO Center, and it's like free game. You get whatever hotel rooms you can get, and it's like it's a shark pool, because you're competing with, across the street I have the Hampton, across the street I have the Holiday Inn Express. The Holiday Inn Express had a 10-year advantage over me because there was no other hotels that could build. Then I came number 2, and guess what? When I opened my doors, he didn't like me so much because I was taking the business from him because I was the newest hotel in the area. And then when Hampton opened, same thing. Like everything kind of just moved. So I think what everyone's trying to say, and I could be completely wrong, but like sitting in my shoes, I'm like, what's the new event that they're going to bring? What heads and beds can I get out of this? Or what big event's going to support the restaurants in the area? Or that's the way I'm looking at things. And I think that's what's important for everyone as a whole collectively, because we have so many business around the HAPO Center that the HAPO Center is supporting, whether it's the people that are leasing within and surrounding areas. So I think that's like we have the building, like what can we do with the building that we have type thing.
right. And I think in terms of events, I know there's some events that are really carried over from the previous management group, and I look at the infrastructure opportunities, Councilwoman, and the .09 funds. The group collectively has been very gracious, City of Pasco, Connell, the port, to be able to invest up to $5 million in a new HVAC system. So, my view as the administrator is we've got to get the infrastructure of that place in line so we can utilize it more effectively, because, essentially, and, I think of Jeff and, the opportunity we have there with sports. And gosh, if he had air conditioning on his side, we could have basketball events all summer long. And
it's never had air conditioning
Right, so-
from the day it was built,
right, which is
correct?
kind of crazy,
Yeah.
when you think about it. But the original use was rodeos, so
Yep.
that's one thing I've been really committed to, and we're about to work with Harris White Leisure on an RFP, and they're experts in development. And fortunately, we have Commissioner Bauman, who's also great at development and working in these spaces, to put out a good RFP to get air conditioning in that side. And I truly believe just having that infrastructure in place is going to be a game changer. So we'll be able to have concerts in the dead in August when it's 115, and whatever direction we decide to go in, can you imagine the use of 40,000 square feet of space that we can utilize if we can upgrade the ice arena a bit, open it up for public skate? These are some ideas, but the infrastructure in certain capacities are so archaic or non-existent in the case of the AC. So those are some things that we're committed to infrastructure-wise, and I've worked really good with the city and the port on the .09 funds to utilize those. So I think those are some of the things. But in terms of, and I understand like there's a sense of urgency. You want to like, what are these guys going to do differently? So I think you got to give them some time to get a lay of the land. We've got phase one of this going, and then ultimately, when the rubber meets the road, I mean, they're going to have to show results. They know that, and but I really like what I see in terms of vision, and what I like most about it is Larry and HWL realize, again, it has to be a team effort between the city and the county, because I think we've got to be in lockstep in terms of what the vision ultimately is. If it's the sports center, hey, I'm 1,000% behind that, and let's do it. If it's doing other things, but I don't want the county to have a vision and the city to have a vision, and then we're not talking about it. So anyhow, I'll get off I have a tendency to talk
No, I appreciate
too much,
that. I
but-
appreciate all the comments. I mean, we've talked about it, the county and the city need to have better relations and stuff. I mean, right across the street, but
Yeah.
I mean, you would think, we're two different countries sometimes. So
Yeah, no, I know.
But yeah, no, I know that I've been saying that for a while. We need to be on the same page and let's have some meetings and just talk about. I want to hear what the vision is of some of the commissioners. I haven't heard a vision about the HAPO Center.
And
You know
that's
what I mean? I want to hear what do you guys think about it?
And
What do you wanna see used
And I
for?
have talked with Adam Lincoln about getting together, and he had reached out to his council members, and I think the collective thought on your side is before we got together at a public meeting, and we kind of went, what do you guys want? What do you guys want? So actually, the suggestion was both you guys to talk with a couple of our commissioners and kind of get your vision on the city perspective, and then when we're ready to bring it out to the public in a council forum, we'll visit the 7 council members, and because that's a good venue to do it, size wise. So I think it's a great first step, and I was really in agreement with Adam's email this morning when he sent it, saying, yeah, I totally agree. It's probably premature for us, the commission and the council, to get together, and because I feel like we don't necessarily know what direction we want to go in lockstep before we get to that. So it's a process, and I know I keep saying that, but I've learned in my time in government it's a process, and we have to be on the same page. Because the thing that we have to realize too, we've got to get the community's input too. And we can't forget about them, because how often do we think, I'm a bureaucrat, you guys are the elected officials, like we know what, and then we forget about the community and we go, oh yeah, you guys. And so we've got to really get them involved in public meetings and get them through the visioning project, because maybe they don't want it to be a sports facility, maybe they don't want it to be a big concert venue. So we've got to get their input too. So.
But just in closing, because once again, it's already a sports complex, folks, and you know it. That doesn't mean it can't have other events which are going to help and assist as what it's done. You certainly can change all that, but that's why I'm sharing. I mean, we do concerts. We own sports teams. We can look at a soccer team moving here. We can look at all sorts of things, all of which are on my list. But but once again, we had no idea until we started looking at documents exactly what's going on time-wise. And it became very obvious to me that before we start sharing all of this, other than the most critical elements, which I've already mentioned, that we all get together and look at the ingredients of a master plan and what you really need to be. Because as you look at the plan, you have two major landowners, and it would be good to sit down and start to figure out what's going to happen there, which then will relate to many, many other things. And obviously, we're in the hotel business. I understand, Melissa, your comments, and I agree with them 100%. There's no question about that. And we're very, very much concerned about and interested in how all that works with all the players involved. So, and the nonprofits or the for-profit system is still the best in the world. And so we're not trying to change that. We're concerned that the nonprofit not get involved in the for-profit as well. And we all know how that is. So we're very interested. I'd like to show you the whole plan because there's a lot there that we haven't even talked about. But we're happy to, but we're saying, let's get with the program. Let's get county commissioners, see if you think that's a good idea. If you do, let's get with Pasco, let's get with the other property owners and begin some charrettes to talk about the uses and what everybody wants to look at. You've got a huge, valuable asset here that both of you have invested millions of dollars in. And let's figure out what the next 50 years is going to entail in regard to that.
Thank you,
We'll be
Larry.
there in the next. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any more comments from anyone? No?
Mike brought up an interesting deal because the fact saying the city and the county. Thing is, especially with me being from North Franklin County, there's been the issue of what's best for Pasco itself. We need to be thinking, period, of what's good for the whole county, not just for the south of the county, because Franklin County as a whole is 4 incorporated communities and, last I remember right, 2 unincorporated communities. So we need to be thinking overall, but not just of Franklin County also, but because of the fact that I know we do a lot of joint stuff with Benton County, we need to be thinking about too, what is Benton County doing something that we're not, maybe we can, or vice versa, we can do something that Benton County doesn't.
No, that's a good point. And that's been brought up before. And so I appreciate you putting that on the record because sometimes us city boys forget that. I'm sorry. Well, if there's no more comments, we'll go ahead and move on to 8, public comment again. I don't know if anyone has any comments after hearing a lot of this board meeting today, but we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment again, if anyone has anything to say. Going once, twice. Okay, we're going to move on to board member updates. Anyone have any updates or anything? I would just say it looks like we're going to be having a meeting, it sounds like, here soon with some board commissioners and stuff like that. I think we'll do it on our turf, though.
I'll because obviously our commission is a 3-member board, so it gets a little bit clunky. I'll have to bring over folks individually, so it might take a little longer than anticipated. So I'll work with city manager Lincoln, and we'll work those dates and times out. I have to get with my commissioners to see when they're available, but it's always fun to visit my old friends at City of Pasco. We don't have enough space over here anyway, so it's always nice to visit your meeting rooms
Or yeah, we can do it at the HAPO Center, whatever.
Yeah, and actually, no, the HAPO.
We'll let him dictate that. Okay, well, we'll move on to office business. I didn't know what that was.
Just anything that Larry may want to bring up, and if he and Wes or even Joel, it just sort of unfinished business, but nothing major. If you don't have it, you don't have it. It's good to go.
Okay, well, with hearing none, Hearing none, I guess this meeting is adjourned. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you, and gals.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.